Franklin's summative review. The first topic we're going to look at is simplifying rational expressions. To simplify a rational expression, you simply must factor it and then cancel the factors that are alike in both the numerator and the denominator. So, if we take a look at number 1, we have 12x squared minus 30x over 20x cubed minus 50x squared. The first thing we're going to look at, always, is a greatest common factor. Greatest common factor is our first check. So in the numerator I have 6 and x, and in the denominator I have 10 and x squared. So I factor a 6x out of both the 12x squared and the 30x, and then I factor out a 10x squared out of the 20x cubed and the 50x, and that leaves me with 6x over 10x squared. Both of these are times the binomial expression 2x minus 5. Well, this expression will cancel with this expression. Now that leaves me with the 6x over 10x squared, but I also have to remember that 2 will go into 6 3 times and into 10 5 times. Thus, and the x will go in once there. Thus I get the 3 over 5x. Most of this is going to be greatest common factor or a pretty basic, fairly basic difference of squares, things like that. If we look at number 2, I've got a 4 and a 36. 9 will come out of both of those, a 24 and an 8, and I can get 8 out of both. So I do that. Now I have a squared minus 9 over 8 times 3 minus a. Now here I have to remember that 4 goes into itself once and into 8 2 times. This is a difference of squares. Okay, nope, I don't want to add a device. So I simply factor, and now I find that the a minus 3 and the 3 minus a is so close. So what do I do? And don't forget, I've already taken care of this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take a negative 1 out of that. So a minus 3 is equal to negative 1 times 3 minus a. Notice the 3 became positive. Okay, so if I distribute this back, just so you can see, I would get negative 3 plus a, which is a minus 3. So this is the same thing. This right here winds up going up here. So now I've got negative 3 minus a over a plus 3 all over 2. Now, all over 2 times 3 minus a. Now these two cancel, and I'm left with this answer. You can distribute the negative. If you left it like this, that would be fine as well. In the next one, you've got a couple of trinomials that you need to factor. There are no greatest common factors, so for that, since you don't have any greatest common factors, first things first, factors of 40, any factors of positive 40 that add to negative 13 for the numerator. Since it's just n, I know I'm going to have n, and then I'm going to have n. Okay, and they're both going to have to be negative because I'm going to get a positive product and a negative sum. Now, you can go back and forth and think about it. Okay, you wind up with n. You wind up with negative 8 and negative 5. So 8 and 5. Now the other one, a little bit trickier. You have 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. That add up to negative 14. This one I have to do the star. So I have negative 15 and 1, but I have to think about my 3n here. How am I going to get that 3 out? Now, over here, this reduces. 3 goes into itself once, and it will go into negative 15 negative 5 times. This one doesn't reduce, so I still have 1 over 3n. Now I'm going to do the bottoms up to get n minus 5 and 3n plus 1. At this point, you can easily see that the n minus 5 factors will cancel, leaving you with n minus 8 over 3n plus 1. Again, when you're simplifying rational expressions, a lot of it is being able to factor. Operations with rational expressions. This is when we add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Okay, what I'm going to do first, however, is I'm going to go through the multiplication and division. So that's just going to be problems 4 through 7. Then I'll take a break and I'll come back and do the adding and subtracting, because that gets a little bit crazier, and then do a third video with complex fractions. So, with multiplication, it's really no different than what we did before, okay? Except now I have to factor 6p squared minus 13p plus 5, and I'm going to factor p squared plus 16p plus 63. Then I'm going to factor both of the denominators. This denominator over here is pretty easy. This one's just 4 times p plus 7. This one up here, that's 9. That's p plus 9 and p plus 7. So this, on the right-hand side, the right fraction is pretty easy. The left fraction is going to be a little trickier because you're going to have to factor the trinomials. So, like I said, this one was easy. Over here, you need factors of 30 that add to negative 13, and then you have to figure out how to split it up. 2 times negative 9, factors of negative 18 that will add to positive 17, and then split it up. I will do the 2 and the negative 19 right over here, just so you can see the factoring again. 2 times negative 9 is negative 18, factors that add up to positive 17. I have a 2p squared, so I'm going to just put 2p underneath here. Now, I've got 18 and negative 1. At this point, I look to simplify this fraction, so that's 9 over p. This fraction, negative 1 over 2p, is simplified. Now I can bottoms up, and that's where I get the 2p minus 1 and the p plus 9. Okay? Again, this is factoring, so you've got to be able to factor. If you thought factoring was going to go away, I'm sorry, it's not. Now, once you've factored the numerator and denominator, you may cancel anything in the bottom, in either bottom, with anything in either top. So, I have the 2p plus 1 can cancel with this 2p plus 1. P plus 9 can cancel with this p plus 9. P plus 7 can cancel with this p plus 7. I am now left with 3p minus 5 all over 4. And that's my answer. Okay? The hardest part of this is making sure that you can factor. Okay? If we look at number 5, we have a greatest common factor in the numerator here. This one, factors of negative 14 that will add to positive 5. Down here, take out a 3 first. Okay, so that one's going to wind up being 3 times w squared plus 3w minus 10. Now you need factors of negative 10 that add to 3. So you still have 3. Then you have w plus 5 and w minus 2. That will take care of this guy right here. Over here, this is going to be a difference of squares. It's not a difference of anything. It's the greatest common factor. You factor the 6 out. So, here are the problems that we have now. Okay? First up here, I had a greatest common factor, then you wound up with the difference of squares. Now, I can go through and I can take a look. Notice the 3 and the 6 are both in the denominator, so I can't do anything there. I can take care of this w minus 2 and this w minus 2. Now, I have a 5 plus w and a w plus 5. Commutative property says they're the same. This one and this one are so close. If I take a negative out, though, to make this negative 6, this becomes negative w and positive 5. Negative w, positive 5. This will cancel with this. Now, you can do this in a couple of steps. I can now say I've got 2w plus 7 over 3 times negative 6. But wait, 2 will go into 6. So this becomes negative 2, negative 3. And the 2 goes away here. Now I have w plus 7 over negative 9. Not too bad, right? Let's take a look at these down here. 5 plus w over 2 divided by. Remember that to divide, we need to multiply by reciprocal of divisor, or what most of you just say is flip and multiply, right? So I'm going to flip and multiply. Oops, let's see if I can. Boom. So I factored the 5 out, and I still have the 2. Over here, I flip it upside down. So now this is 40y squared minus 32y. I take an 8y out, 5y minus 4. In the top, I can take a 5 out, and I get 5 times 5y minus 4. Now, it's the same thing that we've been doing. The 5 cancels with the 5, the 2, and I can get a 4 there. And now I've got 4y. I'm not even sure where the, 4y times y plus 1 all over 10 winds up being 4y times y plus 1. Okay, I factored everything out earlier. Okay? The way they did it, they multiplied the 5 times the 8. Either way, this is your answer. Okay, next up, we have this one again. Flip and multiply. So I'm going to flip this upside down. This is 16c squared minus 9, so it's a difference of squares. 16c squared plus 48c, I can take 16c out of both. The front two, these are both trinomials that I'll have to factor. The top one, however, has a greatest common factor of 2 first. So I took the greatest common factor out, factored the trinomial. The bottom one I had to factor through. Then, like I said, difference of squares and then greatest common factor. Now, I've got a c plus 3 and a c plus 3. A 4c minus 3, 4c minus 3. A c minus 1 and a c minus 1. 2, and this becomes 8. Now this is where you have to be careful. This is 8c. Don't lose this guy right here. And this is 4c plus 3. This c will not cancel with that c. This 8 will not cancel with that 4. You can't do that. This up here, 4c plus 3, is one whole expression. So now you wind up with the 4c plus 3 all over 8c. And you are done. Okay. I'm going to pause the video here after number 7, and we'll come back with a second video where we'll pick up with 8, 9 through 14, which is adding and subtracting. And then I'll probably do complex fractions as a separate one. All right? That's it.